And there it says it across the front of the screen. You are live. Good evening. Welcome along to my channel. So glad you could join me tonight. A very special guest for you who I'll introduce in a moment. But as always, thank you very much indeed for being here. Mark Gray is the first one in on the comments tonight. So this is great, Chris, because you can press this and the comment comes up on the screen. How about that? That is technology.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So tonight, very special guest, Chris Hollinshead. Fantastic guy. I had the pleasure of being taught by this man for 5 weeks recently on the Leadership in Running Fitness workshop. Just to give you a bit of background, Chris, a level 4 endurance coach. That's up there, isn't it, Chris? Level 4.
Yes, it's the highest one. It's still the highest one available, the qualification at the moment in British Athletics, yes.
So there you go. It's up there. You've been a coach now for, I'm not going to say how long. We'll just say a few years because I don't want to give away your age. 1995.
I was so proud when I got that. I went on that coaching assistant course in them days, and I was so proud of the fact that I completed my days. I actually went home and I sent off my my paperwork to I think it was to UK Athletics at the time, and I sent it off recorded delivery, so they would get it the following day, and I'd get my pass back through, and it was like a passport book in those days.
Yeah,
I was so excited by it. It was just a thrill.
That sounds great. Not like it is now when you pass and you just sat there waiting for up to 8 weeks for something to come through the post, just waiting for that little plastic card to fall through. So that sounds like it was more exciting back in the day.
Yeah, it was exciting. I'd never done anything like that before in my life. And the only reason I did a coaching course is because I thought I was getting old at the age of 28 for running. I thought, you don't run much further than 30, do you? And of course, the reality is how wrong I was at the age of 55 and still competing. But I loved the coaching, just loved it. And I wanted the problem is the more you learn, the less you know. So I kept thinking I've got to learn more and more. And then you start to be able to challenge yourself in what you're learning. And you think about, well, actually, I want to know about this. So where shall I go and get some information on this instead? It's just wonderful.
Fantastic. So we touched on your coaching there, but as my friend Paul Muller said, yeah, that Chris Hollinshead, he's not a bad runner. You've had a pretty good career in running, haven't you? It's
been extremely enjoyable. I have had a wonderful time since I became, I suppose, a master at the age of 40. And things did start to change then. I think there's a couple of reasons for it. One of them, of course, is that actually that training after all the years was becoming very consistent. That's the secret to training. It was becoming consistent. Also, I changed it a bit. We put more strength conditioning in. The injuries then as such were starting to become less frequent. So in essence, I was beginning to control the variables.
Yeah.
And then so we didn't really race for 3 years. I went off to university in 2002. Didn't really race, just spent time training, rebuilding the body. And that was it. And then went across. I just left uni. I'd started work teaching, and it must have been half term. And I flew across to Geneva way, and I was doing the Lausanne half marathon. And I hadn't raced properly for 3 years. And I finished that. And it was 73 minutes something, and I don't know where I finished anymore. And I thought, that's not bad. That's not bad. That's fast it's been for many, many years. And then, without realizing it, the light bulb moment was going on above my head, but I didn't realize it or why. And what was happening then was a month or so later, I went to Llandudno 10, got a PB over to 10 miles at the Llandudno 10, finished 6th. Then took another three or 4 months off from racing. We trained. And then one which for me is very prestigious, and I know Paul won that race as well, which is the Stafford half marathon, my local half marathon. I just won it. I just actually beat the field by over a minute. And then I always remember one of the coaches of the local club coming up to me the following night saying, that wasn't very fast, was it? And I just thought, you got no idea really, have you? Because ultimately you do what you've got to do to win that particular race. I'd won a couple of races previously, but nothing ever consistently. But that was something special because suddenly you could see the reasons why everything had come together. And the tactics we've been practicing for many years had come together. So the secret here is consistent try to keep injury and illness free and get your training, the balance right.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's something I'd like to touch on. No, people do a lot of training on their own. They don't employ coaches. They just go out there because of the internet and everything that's available. You can pick up a plan for a 10K, a half marathon, and a marathon that you can follow. But it's a case of altering that plan to the individual, isn't it? That's what you need to be looking at, changing it for yourself to work best for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that we're all individuals. We're all human beings, this wonderful planet. We're all different. We are not the same. So if you think about it logically, you know, when I get in that car to drive to work, I adjust the front seat. It's as easy as that. So from the other person driving it, well, that's a bit like getting your training schedule, really, isn't it? That is a generic schedule. It has its place, brilliant things, maybe perfect for you. But for many people, this one of the secrets is then to adjust it and adapt it to meet your needs, because your needs change. It could be something, for example, like, you know, the amount of hours you're doing at work, family life, how much spare time you've got, how tired I am. And the list is endless of the variables and where you're at in training. So then you kind of got to adjust it to meet your needs. And the key thing there is it's almost a needs analysis. I always say this to people, but at the end of the day, if I want to make that lemon cake in there, which I made yesterday, actually, before I delivered a club run for England Athletics, I was making a cake, a lemon loaf. Look, at the end of the day, I've got to put some eggs in it, some flour, a little bit of baking powder, etc., etc. If I get the ingredients in the right order, they make a beautiful lemon loaf. If they're wrong, it doesn't come out as a lemon loaf. And I think that's the secret to training. So you've got to know what it is you're trying to create and what ingredients are needed in the right order to create that cake. And that's like racing, for example, as I always say, one of my favorite distances to coach is a marathon. That's like marathon training, isn't it? You've got to know what it is, what the end product is, and I've got to know what the ingredients are to get to that end product.
Yeah, just looking at myself as the example, my ultimate ideal is to get a Boston qualifying time. So for a 53-year-old, I'm looking at 3 hours 20.
Yeah.
Currently, my fastest is 3 hours 47. So I'm making progress, but it's not a case of just sitting down and say, right, the next marathon I run, I have to do it at that time. It's setting those process goals, isn't it, along the way, and tweaking that plan along the way to make those improvements. So it's just setting short-term targets, isn't it?
Yeah, what it really is about then is actually, so you're taking yourself on a journey, a beautiful journey, or in my case, I'm here, for example, up to you in Blackpool. Along the way, I'll pick my service stations to stop off. I'll pick side roads to go off the motorway when it gets really busy. But all the way then, I will stop and I will have a quick look at where I've come from and then check the road ahead. And that's your stepping stones to running. So in essence, you'll get to so far down the schedule, the plan, look at where you've got, see what's worked, what hasn't worked, what do I need to do to go to the next stepping stone. And, you know, these things take time. It isn't the case so much. There is a temptation that because we are in groups and clubs with some of our friends, sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm doing this race, I'm doing that race. Why didn't you come along? Well, that's fine. But depends what you want from it is a secret. And do you really want to go to that race? Or should I hold up another 6 or 7 months to get me to the level where I want to be at? And so sometimes, you know, like doing a marathon or something else, you might be tempted to get that entry in for that race this September, October, but actually take 2 steps back, have a look at the whole situation, think, do I want to be there? Or would I be better off having another 12 months worth of training, because these areas at the moment are areas I need to develop? Because the aim is to get to the start line injury and illness free. That's got to be the aim of it. No good doing as much training as you like, but if you're injured on the start line, it's not worked. Does that make sense? But you'll know so many people in the different environments as I do, who, when you speak to them afterwards, we're in that situation at the start, and you're saying, well, hang on a second, so where was the stop checks along the way to help you to understand what's happening to the body? So You can never say never about injuries, but, to try and reduce the risks of something occurring.
Fantastic. So let's take it back a step. How did you start running? Why did you start running? And how did you start running?
Oh, I don't know. See, look, I'm getting old. That's a long time ago now. How did I start? I ran a bit at school. I got picked for the cross-country team at school. You in Stafford, I didn't like it. I mean, you didn't like it in them days, did you? Mud, wet. It was different when I was 30, but when you're told to do something, you didn't like it. And I never trained at all. I used to play football in my Wellingtons in the fields and the farm where we lived. So that gave me the capacity, but we did a bit of cross-country. What else? Then I was about 19, actually, and I was trying to sell tractors really badly. In fact, in 12 months, all I sold was one 25 pence plastic bucket. And that's another story, actually, selling tractors. And so what happened was this. I went to the doctors one day. I just felt really kind of sluggish. And he said, it's your body's way of telling you need exercise. So that was it. So I started running from my house up to the next village, which is 3/4 of a mile. I had no idea what I was doing. I just did it. And I wrote it on a piece of A4 paper, which I still have to this day. So I've got all my training schedules going back to them, and including this one piece of A4 paper, which noted what I'd done. And I thought to myself, if I could run this time, 3/4 of a mile, under this amount of time, I'll join an athletics club. So eventually, after about 6-7 months, I plucked up enough courage to go down an athletics club. There wasn't a big choice of groups and clubs and beginner runners in them days. You kind of either sank or you swim. That's how I saw it. So I went down the local athletics club and I saw a coach down there. He was still coaching today, a very good friend of mine. And what he said to me that night was, "Oh, come on the track, Chris. Show me some strides." And I thought, what on earth are you talking about here? I said, "Give it a miss. I'll come another night." Never went back for another 6 months. Learning number one. If we want to confuse people, put terminology in there they don't understand. If you want to put people off, if you want to make things accessible, put it in a language that everybody understands. All he was trying to say was just give me a relaxed run. If he just said that, I would have stayed. So that put me off for 6 months. And then I kind of went back down again. Used to go to training. I used to go about 30 mile, drive across 30 mile to get to Cannock to do some of the training sessions. You've got to bear in mind now, I don't know Cannock at all. So I went out with the group at night and I was wearing a cotton t-shirt, a Marks and Spencer's woolly jumper because I worked for them at the time, a pair of football socks, probably a pair of football shorts, for example, and some trainers. That is it. There was no fluorescence. There was nothing. I was freezing cold. If it was really cold, I put a pair of skiing gloves on me and the big chunky things. I had no idea where I was going, so I couldn't afford to hang around with these people and get lost. Because trust me, I'd never found my way home back to the stadium in Pye Green. I do remember that. I mean, you wouldn't do that in this day and age.
No.
It was sink or swim, and that was it. I mean, it was just. So sometimes I'd finish work late in Stafford and I'd go back to my house and I'd go out for a run in the dark. I mean, there's no lights, no fluorescence. In that same kit you spoke about, there wasn't as much traffic on the road in the 80s. And I used to pick me way, but strangely enough, on a moonlit night, it was better, I could see more. But you're looking in them days for the texture of the road. So where the road appeared dark in front of you, that implied to me there was probably things like potholes or something else. It was a lighter texture, I could run it. Did I fall down? Yes, of course I did. There was no option. Things are so different and they're so much better today. I've got to be honest. I mean, today it's brilliant for these runners and these groups. It's super. It's so welcoming, isn't it? But I had a great time at the time. I was none the wiser. But we were doing things. I was always hard injured. Calves weren't strong enough. Your shins were always, your shin splints, whatever you used to call it. So many scans. I spent the first 9 or 10 years almost permanently out. I got no coach, no idea what I was doing. And so that was one of the things when I started coaching is this. What I wanted to do then was to gain more knowledge, to give people the experience which I didn't have. That's how I got into running.
Fantastic. So what information would you give to somebody who wants to start running now? What would your top tips to a complete newbie, somebody who goes to a club or a group and for the first time, what advice would you give them?
That's a nice question, that, I haven't been asked that for ages. The first thing is, it's about being realistic with your expectations. And then the key thing is this, then, is get to know the people at the club, the runners and the coaches there, or the run leaders. Get to know it. Start to pick their brains and have words with them, information share with people. And sometimes don't take at face value what everybody's telling you, because the best one in the world, we all mean well. But sometimes the information, by the time it's been passed down 3 or 4 times from different people, may not actually apply to you at that moment in time. So I think the key thing here is get to know the coaching staff straight away and start to work with them, and then get an understanding of what it is you want.
So this goes hand in hand with the internet age we're in now, and Google, that you can just type in what you want, but that information you get might not necessarily be the right information.
Well, there's so much information out there, so much good information out there. But the thing is, though, a lot of the times is, what do we know? If ignorance is bliss, what do we actually know which is appropriate for us and isn't appropriate for us? One of the athletes once said to me about 3 years ago, about 5 years ago now, time's passed quickly, hasn't it, when they first came to join me. They said, Chris, I know what you're saying is right. However, please understand the fact that this partnership we're developing is only a few months old. And I know you're right, but I'm not yet at the stage there to believe everything you're saying or to make changes necessary. And I thought it's very, very wise words, because actually these things take a very long time. So my role as a coach really is to drip feed information, only try and change one thing at a time, get people to, you never ask for respect. You used to do that at school. I respected teachers, and people say respect people. No, I earn respect. There's a difference by what we do, how we do it. And I understand that for people to build up trust, it takes a long time. So drip feed the information down, put it in a language they will understand. Sometimes as well, you start to give them some rope so that they have an opportunity to try things out, what works, what doesn't work for them. Because ultimately my role as a coach is to help them to develop and explore. And that's what coaching's about, and I can help them on the way, but we need to empower them to take control as well.
So somebody going down that journey of becoming a coach like yourself, what would you, if they were looking at the LiRF program, the leadership in running fitness, what would your advice to be somebody who's thinking about going down that route?
I think actually, there's a couple of things there. I think first of all about what interests you. Is it, for example, it could be multidisciplinary. Actually, I do like these sprints and the jumps and the throws as well. Or is the fact, no, I like endurance, but I do love working with junior athletes. Or actually, I do like track and field. Or is it the fact, no, I like working with, the participation runners, the roads element of it. And so that's your first protocol. What does it really interest me? Because I can always diversify different stages. And if that's the case, get yourself on a course. And don't worry about your knowledge level, because, everybody's at the same level a lot of the time. We just don't always admit to it. Yeah. But when you start talking to them, they are really. We've all started, people look at me as an athlete or a coach and say we can never be like you, but actually we all started at the same place. Except in my case, and probably you too, it was a bit longer ago, but we've all started at the same place. And then take time to develop then, if you're a leader, for example, have many months exploring, learning, developing while you're practicing with it. Never be afraid to give people feedback. Because people are craving feedback. They want to know. I had one person, leader, once said to me, I can't give them feedback, I'll upset them. I said, no, you won't. What people want to know is what they're doing well, what they can improve upon. That is the beauty of it. And then after that, you might say, no, I want to go to the next level now. I want to know more about coaching, working with smaller groups of people. And then, of course, you start exploring and you might say, then now I want to know more about strength conditioning or something else. And so you start to widen what you do. And I think that's the beauty of it. You know, the world's your oyster. Take your time, enjoy the process, and give yourself time then to be able to learn and reflect upon it. And always ask your runners what they're thinking. What do they think? It's their feedback. Ask them.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, you need to know how to deliver that feedback, isn't it? It's how to be constructive, not demotivating when you're giving somebody feedback. Yeah,
it is. I mean, the amount of time I actually spend coaching with a stopwatch when I'm with the athletes is minimal. Mm-hmm. Because let's face it, they can do that themselves. They can go and do the session themselves. All mine are adults. They can do that. They can warm up themselves now. When new people come along, I can show them some of the elements we want to include, and then the runners will empower themselves to help the new people, like regardless of ability level. So most of my time when I go on the track actually and see them on the Mondays and Wednesdays is actually spent talking to them. And they say, oh, do you see that rep? And I'll say, oh, no, I didn't actually. I was talking at the time. Because what people want to do, they want to use this opportunity to run things past you. They want to get some feedback, some advice. So a lot of my time is actually spent talking to people, whether it's on the phone, whether it's in person, whether it's at the venue. Because they want to clarify things. They want to know, well, how do we progress? What about this I'm doing? What's the best way of doing it? And so in essence, you know, as far as taking the times go, a lot of people these days have got timing devices to do that extremely accurately. Mm-hmm. So sometimes what I want to do is just stand at the top of their steps and just watch people run and see how they look. And sometimes when I'm watching the athletes, before I even talk to them, if they're warming up, and I might say, you're looking a bit tired tonight. How's work been? And they'll tell you what's happened. And I was with one athlete last week. I was on the bike. I got the easy option. They were running. And I'm actually a cycling coach as well, but I don't do a lot of cycling, about 6 miles a week, really. And with runners. And so what happens is that, and I could see that the lady was tired. I could see she was tired, and there was a reason for it, and I knew the reason. But the breathing was elevated, and I'd expected to go down after 3 minutes. It didn't go down. The funny thing is, when I mentioned that to the lady, she said, yeah, absolutely right. I'm noticing that myself. I noticed it last night as well. And I think there was a reason why. And I think, to be honest, what we're seeing there is a potential reaction from the COVID jab a week earlier. Mm-hmm. So what I have to do then is start to working with them, pull the distance down, reevaluate what's happening, and let the body recover for a few more days. So in essence, you know, it's that very hands-on touch, but you do that from talking to people and observation.
This is going back to what you said earlier on. It's building that trust, building that rapport. Now, once you've got that trust, they will work better with you.
Yeah, very much so. And of course, you know, and then we will set out what the plans are, what we will kind of want to achieve from the season. Most of my athletes are, the ones I work on a regular basis with, are all masters athletes, all over 35. Never started that way. But in recent years, I think what happens is they see a group of extremely wonderful, pleasant people indeed, who have all bonded together, because that's the beauty of it. The group or a group, regardless if I find there or not. But I suppose to a degree, they follow my mantra on coaching, which is sociologically underpinned, which is based on the idea that if we communicate all the time and talk to each other and give everybody the respect they deserve, people see that actually more and more keep coming down. It's lovely.
Right. Have you noticed that with your groups, that since we entered this, 12 months ago, since we entered this pandemic, that has the running in your area got bigger, or has the number of runners fallen? How's it been seen for you?
I can't say at all, because to be honest, as far as that goes, I've got no data to say that. What I've noticed is, for the work from England Athletics I've done with the run leader workshops, etc., some clubs have said that membership has reduced. Others actually said that membership's increased, and others are the same. As far as my group goes, the core people are still there, but we obviously haven't recruited anybody else. We don't actually recruit anybody, they come down. But, if you know what I mean, the numbers aren't increasing at this moment in time. But I'm sure they will again when spring comes and it gets warmer. Anything above 9 degrees will be lovely. I'm sure people will come down again. And once the trust in society develops, confidence gets back again, I think people will come back down.
Fantastic. So, from the Run Leader program, how did you get involved in that?
How? I don't know. I've gone for, I me think back. It's a long time ago. I was delivering coach education programs for England athletics, and then in about, I don't know, how many years ago they've been doing the. I was the first people to deliver the leadership running fitness course. The Run Leader program came about. I'll tell you how it did. If I get the names right, Nick Robinson at the time was the club development officer for England athletics for the West Midlands, Birmingham, Shropshire, Staffordshire area. Mm-hmm. And I'd been asking for a long time, including asking England athletics, of saying, actually, it would be a really nice idea if we did more for the participation athlete, because you've got this qualification, could we do something more? And eventually, me and Nick got together, had a conversation over a cup of tea, and that's how it formed. And we started it off on a local scale in Birmingham, and I think we got about 6 people in the first one. That was it. But we kind of knew that it's what people would like. And over the years, it grew and grew. So Birmingham then was getting 45, 50 people. Then after X amount, I can't think how long, was it about 7, 8 years, 9 years perhaps, we took it nationally, and it's gone now nationally for a couple of years. This is the 3rd year. So the program's grown and grown. And so the program's nice because it was all about the Run Leaders. It's like coaching. It's not about me. It's about you and what you want to help you to grow and develop. So we thought it was kind of like filling a void at the time of what was available. It's a great program and it's superb, and I love working on it. So to this day, I'm still working on it. So we meet together with the team from England Athletics. We write the program. A lot of the time we write it based on the feedback of what we receive from what people have said. Then I'll do some focus groups with clubs in the summer to get it together. Yeah, it's good. Brilliant program. It's superb. Love it. Yeah, it's great to deliver on it. And I get to meet so many nice people.
When you're looking at the Leadership in Fitness Running program, how did the online version evolve? I know circumstances worldwide changed it. All courses had to stop. But what was the process in taking it from a classroom-based course to a more online-based course?
Right. That bit, I'm afraid, you'll have to go to England Athletics about and ask them, because I wasn't, I've got no information on that at all. All I know is that it's gone to a blended, it was going to go to a blended delivery, and that was the idea. Welsh Athletics were going to a blended. Then, of course, things changed again, so it's an online delivery at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so but you've picked up from there with the development program, the 5-day workshop we did online earlier this year. Yeah. How did you?
Because those are separate programs. So what we did is when we planned this last October with England Athletics. So we plan to deliver a purely online program this year. In essence, look, it's a bit like running, isn't it, in coaching? You're trying to predict where you may be in a few months' time. And so we decided to trial out this online program, and the numbers are really good. It's superb. I learned so much from people. It's just great.
I think one of the things we learned from yourself was, with all the changes, the one thing that you don't like is virtual races.
That was funny. Yeah, it was interesting. That I was set up there by Richard on that one, wasn't I? Paul said, "Oh, I like them," so that would put me off. It's interesting about virtual races, isn't it? It's like everything. Everything has a place. Some people like it, some don't like it. It's an individual choice, really. That's what I'll say on the matter. I've said to you before, I haven't raced competitively since Italy in July 2019. I did a couple of nice, easy, relaxed runs afterwards when I was tired, came back from Italy, but no competitive racing. It's a long time ago. And someone asked me the other night, actually, when I was doing a club run, someone asked me the other night, and they said, well, you know, where are you at the moment? And the answer is, I genuinely got no idea. I can't even pretend to know. We haven't even been able to develop the track for the last 12 weeks. So in essence, we dropped the speed element again, kept the endurance and the strength going. I've got no idea at all. So what I'm going to have to do now then to get myself into any kind of shape again is, we know the endurance is good, we know the strength's good, but it's going to take time to develop the other key elements. So along the way, as I said to you about stepping stones, got to look back, reflect and see where we're at. Because I don't know. And let's face it, I'm 2 years older. That's the other variable as well. So I've got no idea. It's exciting, isn't it? I'm just going to see. Look, we can't even guarantee, even racing this, no one can do anything. We don't know. So I like to think there'll be races. I like to think I'll get a chance again to put the vest on. But honestly, I don't know. That's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
No one knows.
Yeah, it's just like the government have just encouraged us to have vaccines so we can go on holiday, and then turn around and say we're going to get fined if we go on holiday.
I can't possibly comment, but I don't know. But you know what it's like. Yeah, it's you know, I'd love to go racing again. I've missed it. I've missed not going out there. The point is this: is that when we're racing, it's all about the mindset you have when you're racing.
Yeah.
You know, I've runners contact me and they'll have a race and some will say, okay, something didn't go right. Chris, can we review it? That's fine. Put it to bed. Let's look forward. Other people will want to reflect on it for 6 months. Oh no, it's gone really badly, this. But actually, no, it probably hasn't gone badly. Just look at what happened and look at the logical reason. And at the end of the day is this: you can't peak every single week of the year.
Yeah.
But sometimes some people think they can, and if you can, tell me how we're going to make millions. Because you can't do that. The body needs a rest. You know, you need to look at the elite internationals. Not that, you know, we are regular, you know, club athletes. Elite internationals will know the fact that, you know, there's a windows of opportunity to be at your best, but even they can't guarantee the peak, as you see at the Olympic Games. It doesn't always happen. You know, so we need to be realistic with our goals and what we're trying to achieve, and that's where your coaches come in.
Well, that was highlighted last year, especially by Mo Farah. He seemed to peak at the time when the Olympics would have been held, but then a couple of months later, it was just normal, shall we say.
Well, strangely enough, I can't comment because I didn't watch any athletics last year. I didn't see anything. And to be honest, I very rarely do. That's the thing. I do have a TV. I actually went for 12 years without having a TV in the house. When I used to teach, the students used to love it. There's this lecturer who's got no idea what's going on in the world because he never used to see anything. I used to have the radio on all the time. So I very rarely watch TV. It's strange because, you know, I always find things really busy. So no, I haven't actually seen a lot of. Actually, I did see some live athletics. I went to the World Champs in London. Was that 4 years ago? That's probably about it, to be truthful. So it's understanding. You know, I'll go and watch my athlete when we're allowed to compete. I see them there, but probably not on the TV. No, it's nothing to do with athletics. It's the fact that actually I'm normally doing other things. For example, like working or in the garden, just trying to get those potatoes to grow at the moment.
Fantastic. Right, we've got a question from Mark. He wants me to ask you, as a coach, what's been your greatest achievement?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mark. Right, okay. Greatest achievement. I'm going to think about that one. I think, to be truthful with you, there's many satisfying ones. I think I've been coaching about 3 or 4 years, and a gentleman called Andy Bird made an appearance one night at the track. Andy Bird was an arm amputee athlete. I had no understanding or working relationship with disability athletics at the time. So I was about to learn something really new, which was going to enrich my life. So he came down the track and one night he said, I've been playing Sunday League football. And he said, I would like to run a marathon. And I said, no, you wouldn't. Why don't we do someone like learn how to do 2 laps of the track, first of all, 800 meters? It's about being realistic. Yeah. And he did actually go on to become international in 2002 at the disability Paralympic world champs in Lyon. He did win bronze medal over the 1500 meters. I learned so much very quickly about disability sport, so much so it became a passion of mine. I've worked at British Athletics as the Paralympic talent coach on endurance now for the last 12 years. It's been so enriching for me. But, you know, even I made the same mistakes at the start and did. But what was interesting was we talk about planning things out. We knew that Andy potentially was not going to get gold or silver in the 1500 meters. And he was doubling up in the 8 in France. We knew that. But what we did is 12 months out, we said bronze medal is the one. Because you've got to be realistic about what's attainable. I mean, the other times are probably too far away. So we set ourselves about bronze medal. We set ourselves then about tactically racing, what position you kind of think you might be in position in them races, etc. And we worked on it and we got the quality. And I pulled him out. This is really interesting because I think Andy himself were probably at the time in the Birmingham League cross country that season. Andy Bird, I think, would have probably been the first Paralympic athlete to win, I think it was Division 2 at the time, something like that. If he'd continued, he was winning the races. We, as a team, agreed to pull him out with about one race to go, which meant he couldn't win it, in order to focus on getting the championship time on the indoors for the summer. That would give us 3 or 4 months to prepare for it. We took the decision. To this day, and he'll tell you, I do not regret what we did because it worked. He got his championship time. And I suppose what we're saying there is at some stage you have to focus in on what you believe is important as a team and you make the decision. So, yeah, it was him getting that bronze medal in Lyon. I was completely chuffed a bit. So it was brilliant. Yeah, it was superb and so well deserved. And he did that. But you know, there's planning in the process. And he was a very fine athlete and a friend to this day. And I learned a lot in the process from working with Andy. And since then, working with Paralympic athletes. And one of the key things there is that it's a learning curve. And I say to people on the LiRF course, you know, so I make mistakes, I learn along the way. I was working with deaf disability athletics, and I think that was the name of them. In 2000, it was the same day England won the Rugby World Cup, but I don't do rugby, didn't watch it. So I was down the track in Stoke-on-Trent with them, and it's my first session with the group. Brilliant bunch of athletes. And what was happening there was they had people with them who were, some of the athletes used signers, others lip read. And I remember straight away, within 2 minutes, just turning me back on them like that. Because you do, it's a natural thing. And they turned around and said, next time, would you mind looking at me? Point taken. Look, we all make mistakes in life. We can't suddenly expect to alter our practices overnight, but we learn. And I always tell that to people on the Run Leadership course when I'm delivering that and looking at something like disability sport, because I understand the fact that, you know, people don't expect us to suddenly change overnight, do something else. You know, we've got to learn how to adapt our coaching, our leadership in order to meet the needs of the people. So I always do remember that. And wonderful athletes. I mean, so many good athletes out there I've worked with over the years, yeah. Oh, I've got to tell you this one. The exciting one was, it was Will Masters, because she's alongside me, Emma, with my wife, Will Masters Championships in Australia 2016. We went all the way across there. Me and Emma were racing. And Emma was in the really good shape of her life. She was, how old were you then? Okay, she just become W45. Thanks, Emma. And that year. And she'd been out in France and Lyon the previous year as a practice and went out in the first round heats. But this time we thought we could progress further. And in the 800 meters, what Emma will tell you is that I could see it as a coach. She almost made the fatal error. She relaxed down too much on the second lap and let people catch her up and almost overtake her. And that championship story could actually have been over then. But she responded, learned from it, sealed the place in the final. She was never going to win a medal. We knew that. But I said to her, on the off chance, Emma, if you can get a 4th place, that would be an achievement you'll always be proud of. I said, and we discussed the tactics of what could happen the night before over dinner. And I said, one of the things is expect the unexpected, because someone could fall down. And as you now watch the video, because everything's on YouTube, you will see the lady in front of Emma fall down with about 30 meters to go as she overstrides and overcompensates to try and get a bit more extra. So Emma did take that 4th place in the end.
Fantastic.
And it's about preparation, preparing your runners for the task undertaken. That's the secret. Tactics.
Fantastic. So the takeaways so far from tonight are consistency.
Yeah.
You work on the consistency and then set your specific targets that are achievable.
Yeah.
And then work towards that target one step at a time.
Definitely. And take time. Look, Rome wasn't built in a day. Take your time. The average person, you might take in fact, I was speaking the other week to an old colleague of mine, Mike Hartley, because he was on the Run Leader workshop, if you remember. A wonderful ultra-distance runner at the time. And he held the record for the Pennine Way for 30-odd years. But as he said that night, he was speaking to us. And what he said is this: I prepared to set, when I wanted to set the record for the Pennine Way, it took him, 2 years to planning to do it, to make sure all the nuts and bolts of the body in place, the actual planning of the route, the wrecking of the route in advance. Some very, very wise words came out there, because these things take time. But I tell you what, we have some fun along the way, and we also get some things wrong. That's life. That's what it's about. It was all easy. You wouldn't do it.
That's true. It's always pushing yourself, isn't it? Just take that, push yourself, see how far you can get, and that. Right, we've got another question from Andy tonight. Hi, Chris. Loving the chats. Great entertainment and very informative. There you go. Who's the most successful athlete you have coached, and what did they go on to achieve? So I think he's basically saying, can you name drop?
No, right. Okay. Right. The most this is an interesting one. I am going to go for a very good athlete. I'll tell you a name. A lady's name is Sally Gray. And she is a wonderful club athlete. And I tell you why, because we've worked together for 12, 13, could be even longer than that now. And, she came down to us, and she's been running in Birmingham, came back to Stafford. And so we started working together. As I say, it's teamwork. And Sally, she was, I can't think how she was. She's probably about 35, 36 at the time. And has won many races. She has achieved many things, including at the Masters level and everything else. And it's just been so much fun working with Sally, because like everybody else, we had a spell where we worked together, and she was in fantastic form for a club athlete on the local scene. It was so enriching and rewarding working with Sally. It was just great fun, and it still is to this day. But like everything else, time changes. She doesn't get quite as much time anymore now to train or anything like that. But it's still a great experience. And the lady was doing so well and still does well. But, things change, objectives change in life. And so actually, I suppose, Sally, brilliant athlete. Thoroughly enjoyed working with Sally. Still do now. So if she's watching tonight, evening, Sally. And that's it. And, she'll recall some of the races she's participated in and won. And you know what? It's that look on the face as they cross that line. That is the thing. And I tell people this, but I mean, I won, out of all the races I've won plenty now since the age of 40. Things kind of came together. That one that still sticks to me now out of everything I've done is still when I won the Conwy Half Marathon in 2010. Because in 29 I did it, I got a puncture. When I'm running terms, puncture means I got a stone in your shoe, isn't it? Get a stone in your shoe, 3 or 4, it wouldn't come out. It was them racing trainers, the ones where the sole used to almost go straight through. So it was stuck, wasn't it? And like a puncture. Went back the following year. And we had a good season. I went back there. And by about, if you know Llandudno at all, and Conwy, it starts by Conwy Castle. And I know the race organiser, Chris York, very well these days. And so by about 3 mile, I suddenly find myself, I don't even have a go at this. I was just in a good place, in a good shape. So I overtook the leaders. And as you head off the Little Orme, if you know Llandudno, you come down the other side towards the pier. So the story goes, Emma's there with me mother and me auntie. Me mother say, that can't possibly be Chris. Look, I can tell by his bandy legs that's not him, because my legs are no leg. That's not Chris. You know, his legs aren't like that. And it was me. I was actually leading the race at the time. And then I went around the Orme, straight up the Orme. Then, of course, you start getting the buzz, don't you?
Yeah. And
it doesn't matter how steep that hill is. Nothing's going to stop you. But it got hard. It got very, very hard at the top of that Orme, as it does. Because it's over like about 9% gradient, it suddenly stops then the body from doing its normal regular running technique. I was gasping at the top. And then I came down the other side. And then you've got to accelerate. At the bottom, if you know Llandudno, if you've never done the Conwy off, there's like a sea wall. Don't ask me to this day how I did it, but the sea wall's concrete about that wide and about that high. I was going the wrong way and I hurdled it. As I landed on the floor on my feet, I thought, I can't believe I've just done that. And I hurdled it. Don't ask me why. And I just kept going. And it was lovely. And then you suddenly get to the end there, and I thought, I've done it. And I think it's probably one of the most exciting victories I've had. Why? Because it's so hard going up the Great Orme, isn't it? It's just an achievement. It doesn't matter. I'm a club athlete. That's what I am. That's what I do. I love it. But that Orme is the Great Orme. It's really steep. Anybody says it isn't. It is steep, and I think it was such a great achievement. Yeah, it was. Loved that race. Again, it still does now, 10 years on.
I think that's you touched on something there that people should do, especially when they're running, is smile when they're running. How many running pictures have you seen where people seem to be grimacing and looking like death? Where if you smile, your running form just gets better, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Oh, by the way, the one error I made. This is funny, actually. Look, it's a learning curve.
Yeah,
it was going to be hotter. You've got to bear in mind, this is going back many years now, early 2000s. One of the coaches, great coach, I won't give you his name, but said to me, it's going to be hot in there. I was doing the Liverpool off. And I don't like heat at the best of times. Give me about 15 Celsius, I'm happy. I can put my shorts on, keep me jumper on, I'm happy in life. So anyway, what happened was this. He said, Chris, he says, if it gets really hot, this is a strategy. What you do is you wear a cap, get some chilled lettuce and put beneath your cap.
Okay.
Well, I've got to try this. And it's only when you're doing it, you realise, in real terms, this is not a very sensible thing and people are going to laugh. So you've got to picture the scene. It didn't work, by the way. Before the start of the race, I have got these lettuce leaves on my head. My head's big anyway. This cap on the top like that. By 3 mile, I said to you, I was beginning to walk. This was turning into a nightmare. And every now and again, cap comes off, piece of lettuce goes on the floor. And this continued all the way around. And what on earth is that chap doing? I kind of learned at that stage, I ought to trust science more than somebody else. But it's actually true. It is true. If anybody who's in that race saw me doing it, yeah, the lettuce was mine. I'm not proud of the fact, 20 odd years later, no, I'm not. I laugh about it and joke about it, but it's genuinely true. Chill lettuce doesn't work. The key thing Sorry.
I was going to say, I don't think anybody will ever beat that story.
No, the key thing is this, actually. What I've learned as a coach since is this. Keep yourself in the shape beforehand. If the temperature is warmer on average than it would be normally, etc., accept the fact your body is going to slow down the race, reduce your time by probably 10, 11 seconds a mile. There's strategies to overcome it. But when I did that Masters Games 5,000 was it 5,000? Yeah, it was 5,000, 2 years ago in Italy. Blew me away. We got out on the track. I mean, we were having a heat wave of about, 16 degrees, weren't we, in the West Midlands? Yeah. It was 31 on the track side there. Never done anything like that in my life. It makes Australia felt cold, that did. And I got on the track, and if you watch the videos, I'm like, don't know what to do next. Never ran 31 degrees. And you've got all these athletes there who you assume have ran in 31 degrees. I find a tent just to sit there, and I'm like this, my head's down. Trust me, I don't know how I'm going. I can't even breathe. It's so hot, and that's the track side. Now, what the air temperature's like. So they got a shower on the track, but it was lane number 3, so I wasn't going to use it unless I got desperate. But what I thought is this: if it hurts me, it's going to hurt the people behind me even more. Look, at the end of the day, there's no watch. See that? No watch.
Yeah.
I don't need a watch to run a race, because what I'm going to do is run how it feels. And there was a couple of people in front of me, and I think I went into 3rd place. I looked at what they could run, and I said to you about Andy Bird and what we did with him, and I understood where I could potentially finish on a good day with something like 3rd. I understood that. But it had to be a good day, and it had to be in my favour. And so I went into 3rd place, and then after about another lap and a half later, about 3.5 laps, the Russian gentleman came past me, and I thought, oh, this is going to be curtains now. I could be in trouble, because he's got to post a faster time than me. And I thought, no, let's hold it together for another 600 metres. So get round to about lap number 6 now, halfway through it, and I thought, now or never. I am just going to call his bluff and put everything into the next 300 metres. It worked. It worked. I went past him, never came back. And I kept pushing at that stage, and nothing's going to hold you back, as I said to you. And you keep pushing, and you're so tired. And at the end of it, I just thought, 30, that was an achievement, that 31 degrees. I was second in the end, 31 degrees Celsius. I'd never done that. You know, you train in 18 degrees. You can't prepare for that in the UK. It doesn't happen. And that's why that was it was actually a really good performance. I was really pleased to bits with that. And I remember doing the Masters as 10-mile champs a few years back in Rhyl it was. And a gentleman said hello to me on the start line. And I didn't know. Very nice to speak to people. But I guess then this person wanted to try and beat me, because not many people say hello to me unless they know me. And so I guessed he did. And I got that impression. And then for the first couple of miles, he was staying with me all the way. And I kept hearing beep, beep, these Garmins. Oh, now aren't they irritating in a race? Yeah. Don't they just? You beep. And I thought, well, it's now or never. After about 2 miles, I thought, no. I don't want a Garmin for the next 10 miles. So you practice, you get no surprises in a race. Everything is practiced in training. Mm-hmm. And I practice doing this week in, week out, year after year. And that is, you practice accelerating and holding the speed. And I thought, if I increase by 8 seconds a mile, that's 2 seconds over 400 metres. Chances are it'll be enough to accelerate past everybody. And if they're better than me, they're going to come past anyway. So I've got nothing to worry about. And sure enough, like I said about the Masters one, it worked. It didn't come back. Our early burst. And what you got to do then is, after a mile or so, is just relax again, chill back down, get back into a rhythm, because you can't keep that acceleration going all the time. And I think, there's some learning there to be had, is that we don't do enough tactical training.
Yeah.
We need more of it.
To be honest, I hadn't even thought about tactics. It's just, for me, setting the goals, aiming at that goal, and not even thinking about a tactic in the race. It's just going out and running my race. So from this conversation tonight, my whole ethos when it comes to a race is just going to totally change and actually sit down and work out what's the tactic for that race. Yeah,
it is, because that's away from it. I remember the last marathon. I always thought I would never do a marathon again. This was 5 years ago. I had, I think, a knee injury or something like that. But I was running, but I knew I wasn't potentially in the shape I needed to be in to achieve what I wanted to achieve. But I was in London and I wasn't going. Anyway, you had the dreaded toilet stop at 10 mile, and that's it, isn't it? You look at your watch, think, come on, it's 3 minutes now, it's 4 minutes. And you're thinking, oh no, it's all over. And then you try to get going, and now you've got no time at all to lose. And the reality is you're going to lose a lot. So by 18 mile, I've started to walk. I've walked more marathons than I've ever ran in my life, so I'm used to it at this point. I get off the train, go to the tube station. So I'm standing up now, waiting for the tube to come in. I think I'm going home now. And something says to me that says, no, Hollinshead, you're not doing that. This is not acceptable. You get yourself back in that race again. So I decide to walk back down again. The crowd go, whoa, this roar comes up, someone offers me a jelly baby. And I start running for 20 meters and then stop again, walking, because it's all gone, hasn't it? Psychologically, it's all gone. And someone said to me, "Oh, you can do it." And I said, "If I could do it, I'd be running, but I can't. I can't. It's all gone to pieces." I did finish. It was like about 3 hours 2, 3 hours 3. I think someone said, I don't have a look on the thing. I did. You know, the other one, the funniest one, again, before I go, was this one in 2013, I think it was, wasn't it, Emma? Yeah. I had an operation on my back, a small operation on my back. So the surgeon was stitching it up there. It's about 10, 12 days before London Marathon. And I said, by the way, so he said, no sport for 3 weeks because I had to go to a marathon in 10 days. So he said, I better put some more stitches in then. So he did. So he held me together. And as I was running, I was leaning a bit to one side because the stitches were pulling. I got a new personal best that day. He was doing 40 and that was 2013. There you go. Because why? Because there was no pressure on me.
Yeah. That's the typical.
I think that helps again. It's about your game plan, isn't it? But I dig, yeah. That's pulling me back.
That's the typical physio. When a physio tells you no running for 3 weeks, what the athlete actually hears is only do an easy 20 miles on Sunday.
It could be, yeah. I mean, the thing is this. I always tell the athletes, when we're working with the athletes, I also work with the physios as well. So we triangulate across. So everybody has permission to talk to everybody else. So the physio should... the physio, the masseur, in our case, a great physio over in Shropshire, really for cause, and he rebuilt me in 2000. And all our athletes work with him now, and they triangulate across because that way they get to know what's happening to the athlete before the athlete does a lot of the time. They know how the legs feel. Yeah. And you're right, and it's about building up the trust and building up, this working relationship there. And that, so for the runners themselves, it becomes a journey, but becomes a journey for all of us. We all share the pain and the excitement of what happens. And that's the best thing about it. So, yeah.
Right, I'm just looking at the time. We are running out of time. So if anybody's got any last minute questions, get them in now. Mark has come back on and says it looks like we're taking lettuce to the Great North Run. Great North Run later this year. So
I can't remember if it's a round lettuce or one of those crispy ones. I can't remember what it was. But either way, I laugh and joke. It wasn't a good thing to do. It's funny. It's hilarious to this day, but it wasn't. I didn't remember.
It's probably that Russian you beat. He didn't have enough lettuce with him.
Yeah, lettuce.
31 degrees,
We've all done some things we think with hindsight. Probably wasn't the best idea in the world.
Fantastic. Ben has asked a question. Sorry if it's already been asked. What's the longest distance you've ever run?
26.2 marathon. Anything more than that, I'm happy to take the number 8 bus. I don't like hills. People know I don't like hills. I have to do them in races. I prefer the cable car. In case you asked that question there, it's a known fact. I would love to live somewhere flat and where it's just nice. Don't do hills. I'm okay walking on them, but running is my hard work. So all credit to everybody who loves hill running. It's just hard, isn't it? But I do them in races. Here's another tip for you. Practice the hill in advance. Yes. So put your hill sessions in to practice for the race outcome, not do it for the sake of doing it. That way, then you're working towards your goal.
Fantastic. And then don't listen to the race organisers who tell you it's a flattish course and then you find out you got 360 foot of elevation.
Yeah, they do say that frequently. Saying that, you see, I wanted to do Loch Ness last year and I wanted to do it this year as well. I'm tempted. I know it's silly, but actually I've never done it. Anyway, because I thought I'd come back out of retirement and do a marathon. That was the story behind all this. After 5 years, I thought perhaps it's time. We always say never again, but we tend to come back. I'm thinking I might just do one.
Well, most people cross the finish line and say they never run another marathon, but by the time they've got home, they're already on the internet booking one.
Yeah, I do remember the one I did. I was a bit tired at the end of it. I'm not sure it's what you really do, but they opened my mouth and poured in a little sachet of Tate and Lyle sugar. Didn't taste very nice. It opened wide. That was the first adidas did that in London. I can't remember it was now. And I thought, look, it wasn't very nice. You need the sugar. I was a bit wibbly wobbly that day.
Right, Mark's asked the question, have you ever done anything like the Goggins Challenge, the 4 miles every 4 hours over a 48-hour period? Have you ever done anything like that?
No, I'm speaking with a straight face now. No, I haven't. No. I'd be honest with you, that as an athlete, no, I don't. But look, at the end of the day, whatever I do tends to have a reason behind it. I don't have to race. I love training, but training theory, there's a sequence, there's a purpose to what we're trying to achieve. That's for me personally. All credit to everybody else. No, it's never. No, I don't tend to do challenges, to be honest. No, I don't. My challenge is to go and watch my club, Stafford Rangers, win a match. You know, that's my challenge in life, and I'm very often at the moment. But you know, yeah, it is. I tend not to be truthful. But I all credit to people who want to do something to keep themselves motivated.
Fantastic. Right, we'll just finish off with a final question. We've got allegedly the marathons coming back at the end of the year. So if anyone's got a place like the London Marathon, what would your advice be for a first-time marathon runner?
Oh, are you asking me or are you asking the audience? Me?
I'm asking you, mate.
Right, okay. This now then is to set realistic expectations and don't go running up to 26 miles in your training. Look, the one thing I don't do as a coach is I don't do this idea that I run in training the same distance as I'm going to do in a race when I'm doing a marathon. Okay. Number one aim is to get to the marathon start illness and injury free. Otherwise, it hasn't worked, and it's probably cost you a lot of money at the same time. So you've got to try and limit that damage in essence. So pull back on your mileage a bit, because I want you to have the most enjoyable experience you'll ever have with that marathon. It's a great experience, and to me, I did it not because of the race. Never enjoyed it. I did it because I loved the weekend in London. It was brilliant. Loved it. I love seeing people, talking to people, seeing the crowd. And at the end of it, I love the fact I can have that jelly babies. I think there's a pint of shandy in them days I had, and some breakfast cereal after the race, and hobble home again. I did it, loved it. But you know, it is about being realistic with expectations, and this is where it goes back to your training schedules. Mm-hmm. Don't take at face value what people tell you. Look at what research says on the matter, you know, and think about what realistically mileage do I have to do to achieve what I need to achieve.
Fantastic. And on those words of wisdom, Chris, thank you very much indeed for joining us tonight.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate your time. Thank you for the stories and thank you for the tips. Very enlightening. A lot for us to take away and digest and actually implement in our own training going forward.
Don't forget the lettuce.
And don't forget the lettuce. That's the most important takeaway from today.
I'm keeping a straight face when I said that. You've got to be prepared sometimes just to say that was me.
Fantastic. Chris, thank you very much indeed for your time, mate.
Bye-bye then. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Before everybody disappears, do us a favour, give this video a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you can share this with your friends, that will be absolutely fantastic. Andy's just said, thanks, Chris and Tony. That was ace. So there you go. That's you can put that on your website, Chris. You were ace.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
All right. Thanks so much. Chris, don't go anywhere. Just hold on there and we'll just say goodbye to everybody else.
Bye-bye.